Your brain is lying to you, and you don't even notice. It hides mistakes, covers flaws, and rewrites your story. You think you're in control, but deep down, your mind edits reality. Why do smart people defend bad choices? Why do we stay in toxic relationships and still call it love? Why do we buy things we regret, yet justify them later? This isn't weakness, it's psychology at work. A secret mechanism that bends truth to protect your ego. And the scariest part? You're experiencing it right now, without even realizing. We like to believe we are a rational being, that every decision we make is logical, carefully thought out. But reality tells a different story. Every day, our brain quietly edits the truth to protect us from discomfort. Think about the last time you bought something expensive you didn't really need. At first, you felt guilt, maybe even regret. But within minutes, you started convincing yourself it was an investment. That's not logic. That's your brain rewriting the story. It happens in relationships too. We stay with people who hurt us, yet convince ourselves it's love. We defend partners, friends, or even family members who break our trust. Not because it makes sense, but because admitting the truth feels too painful. This isn't just about personal life. At work, we justify bad bosses. In politics, we defend corrupt leaders. On social media, we argue fiercely for ideas we know are flawed. Why? Because admitting we were wrong feels like an attack on our identity. Your brain does this automatically. It bends reality to reduce the tension between your beliefs and your actions. It tells you stories to keep you comfortable. But those stories are not always the truth. Psychologists gave this hidden process a name. It's one of the most powerful forces shaping human behavior. A force that explains why people cling to lies, why societies defend harmful traditions, and why even the smartest minds repeat the same mistakes. It's not stupidity. It's not ignorance. It's a silent psychological shield built into every one of us. And today, we're going to uncover how it works. The phenomenon we're talking about is called cognitive dissonance. The term was first introduced in 1957 by psychologist Leon Festinger. He wanted to explain why humans struggle when their actions and beliefs don't match. So, what does it mean in simple words? Cognitive means related to thinking. Dissonance means conflict or clash. Put together, cognitive dissonance is the mental discomfort you feel when your actions and beliefs collide. Imagine this. You believe smoking is unhealthy, but you still smoke a cigarette. Now your mind is in conflict. One side says this is wrong. The other side says, but I want it. That tension you feel, that's cognitive dissonance. Your brain hates this discomfort. It doesn't want you to feel guilty or conflicted. So it comes up with clever tricks to fix it. You might say, everyone dies of something. Smoking helps me relax. My grandfather smoked and lived till 90. These are excuses, mental justifications to reduce the discomfort. It doesn't just happen with smoking. It happens with food choices, with relationships, with career decisions, with money. Every time your behavior and beliefs don't align, cognitive dissonance shows up. Think of it as a mental alarm system. When your brain detects a clash, it rings the bell. But instead of solving the problem, it often silences the alarm by rewriting the story. For example, a student who cheats on an exam might think, everyone else does it too. Or, it's just one test. It doesn't matter. The brain reduces the guilt, even if the action remains wrong. Cognitive dissonance is universal. It doesn't care about age, culture, or intelligence. From a child justifying why they didn't share toys, to a CEO justifying unethical business decisions, every human experiences. And the reason is simple. Our mind values comfort more than truth. The brain would rather twist reality than admit we were wrong. This is why understanding cognitive dissonance is so important. Because once you recognize it, you begin to see how often your brain edits reality. And only then can you start separating truth from self-deception. So how does cognitive dissonance actually work? It starts when two beliefs or belief in an action clash in your mind. This clash creates mental stress, like two radio stations playing at once. The brain hates that noise. It looks for a way to quiet it down. But instead of fixing the action, it often fixes the story. Let's take dieting as an example. You promise yourself you'll eat healthy. Then you grab a slice of pizza. Immediately, dissonance kicks in. This doesn't match my goal. Instead of admitting weakness, your brain whispers, one cheat day won't hurt. Or, I worked hard today. I deserve this. The action doesn't change, but the guilt disappears. This happens in bigger decisions too. When people invest in something risky, like a failing business, they often double down. Why? Because admitting failure feels worse than losing more money. Their brain convinces them, if I just wait, things will turn around. Psychologists tested this phenomenon in experiments. One famous study by Festinger asked participants to do a boring, repetitive task. Afterward, they were asked to lie and say it was fun. Some were paid $20, others just $1. Surprisingly, those paid only $1 convinced themselves the task was actually enjoyable. Why? Because their brain couldn't justify lying for just $1. So, to reduce dissonance, they rewrote their belief. It wasn't so bad. I actually kind of liked it. This shows how powerful the mind's need for harmony is. We change our beliefs, not just our excuses, to avoid discomfort. Think of all the times you argued passionately online. Sometimes, halfway through, you realize you might be wrong. But instead of stopping, you defended your point even harder. Not to win the argument against them, but to win the argument inside your own head. Cognitive dissonance is like a defense lawyer living in your brain. No matter what you do, it will build a case to protect you. But just like a lawyer, it doesn't always care about truth, only comfort. And that's where the danger begins. So, how do you know when cognitive dissonance is happening to you? The signs are subtle, but once you see them, you'll notice them everywhere. First, look for instant excuses. Whenever you do something and immediately justify it, that's a red flag. Like buying a new gadget and instantly saying, it'll make me more productive. The need to explain right away often means your brain is covering guilt. Second, notice defensiveness. If someone challenges your choice and you feel the urge to argue, ask yourself why. Strong defensiveness is often not about proving them wrong. It's about proving yourself right. Third, watch for shifting standards. Maybe you criticize others for something, but when you do it, suddenly it's different. Like judging a friend or being late, yet excusing yourself with traffic was bad. That double standard is your brain reducing dissonance. Fourth, observe selective memory. Have you ever forgotten details that make you look bad? Your brain sometimes conveniently forgets the parts of the story that don't fit your self-image. It's not lying, it's protecting. Fifth, pay attention to justification pain. This is when you suffer for something and then convince yourself it was worth it. Think of hazing rituals, brutal workouts, or unpaid internships. We tell ourselves, this makes me stronger, or this builds character. In reality, the brain is trying to give meaning to the suffering. 6. Look at relationship dynamics. You might stay in a toxic friendship or relationship, telling yourself, they're not always like this, or deep down they care. That inner conflict between pain and love is dissonance at work. 7. Notice over-explaining. When you find yourself giving long explanations for simple action, that's a clue. It's your brain trying to pile up evidence to cover the discomfort. 8. Beware of belief reshaping. Sometimes, instead of changing our actions, we change our beliefs entirely. Like a smoker who decides, maybe smoking isn't that bad after all. It feels like logic, but it's just mental editing. Finally, ask yourself, do you feel a gap between who you say you are and what you actually do? That uneasy tension, that quiet voice in the back of your mind, that's cognitive dissonance knocking on your door. The truth is, almost every uncomfortable justification in life can be traced back here. If you start catching these signs, you'll realize how often your brain hides mistakes. And awareness is a very first step toward breaking the cycle. The good news is, cognitive dissonance isn't unbeatable. You can't remove it completely, but you can control how it shapes your decision. The first step is awareness. Simply knowing about cognitive dissonance makes you catch it faster. Next time you justify a choice, pause and ask, am I explaining this to feel better or because it's really true? Second, practice honest self-reflection. Write down your decisions and the reasons behind them. Seeing your thoughts on paper removes the mental fog. It forces your brain to face the truth, not just the story it created. Third, learn to sit with discomfort. Admitting mistakes is painful, but it's temporary. Covering them up feels easier, but it keeps you trapped. When you feel that inner conflict, breathe through it instead of escaping. Fourth, set consistent value. When your actions don't match your values, dissonance grows stronger. But if you clearly define what you stand for, your choices become easier. Ask yourself, does this action align with who I want to be? Fifth, surround yourself with truth tellers. Friends who challenge you are uncomfortable, but they're priceless. They help you see when you're lying to yourself. Instead of avoiding criticism, use it as a mirror. 6. Embrace small correction. You don't have to fix everything at once. If your brain justifies a bad habit, take one small step in the opposite direction. Even small actions restore harmony between belief and behavior. Finally, practice self-compassion. Cognitive dissonance doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're human. Everyone makes mistakes, but only those who face them grow stronger. By catching the lies your brain tells, you turn discomfort into power. And instead of being controlled by your mind, you begin to control it. Your brain is a master storyteller. It bends reality, hides mistakes, and rewrites your past. But once you see the tricks, you can't unsee them. Cognitive dissonance isn't your enemy. It's a signal, a warning light, that something inside you doesn't match. And that signal gives you a choice. You can ignore it and keep living in the story, or you can face it and start living in the truth. The strongest people aren't those who never make mistakes. They're the ones who admit them, learn, and grow. So next time you catch yourself justifying, stop, ask, is this the truth or just my brain protecting me? If you want more insights like this, subscribe now, because understanding your mind is the first step to mastering it.